say ne mantumi anko school. Me nipa do sago no so me de kwa bia na me ho ase. Ma san so am ferry.
Menstruation is a very special time in every girl's life. For menstruating women and girls living in developed countries, it's not difficult to find sanitary pads or tampons. However, in most rural areas in Ghana, tracking down feminine hygiene products is a constant struggle. I am en route to Amantim, a village in Techima North in the Bono East region of Ghana, to meet a young girl who has not been to school today because she is on her period.
Benedicta Boatima is one of the girls in the Kokoko Basic School, and I've been told she's not been able to come to school today because she's in her menstruation period. I've been trekking for God knows how many minutes, and I'm still trekking to meet her.
"16-year-old Boatima Benedicta was all about her house chores when I arrived at her home. She's not a happy girl because she's on a period and cannot afford a sanitary pad. She resorts to using rags.
Me da sorry na manya me menses na me ni pardon so ma me susu oniska obeto bia ma me ti me yusu nsago na me yusu ne so maybe me ko school na metanase ha ebetumi afo efan so amena fofo ne be sere me enu nti amanko.
It was time to change her used rag, and she did not hesitate to show me how she goes about it. For years, whenever Benedicta's period began, she would grab a piece of old cloth she kept for the purpose, fold it into layers, and stuff it into her underwear. The rag looks worn out and has blood stains on it, but that is the only alternative available. Although she is not comfortable with the rags, she is forced to use them because her mother cannot afford the disposable parts. She's been using rags since she was 14 years, something her mother taught her. She is unable to recall the last time she used disposable sanitary pads.
Store bia ni ha moton bi wa ha. Ti maybe obi ukokroma me mane no. Okonso na ma hu ni dia. Me sunsago na. To da bia meden to ma go ne ya. Moja no ba mo a etime mane fo. Before I say me na ma say mabo fo na ma sie no. Ka me nyobi mane bo a me pad na.
She will not be attending school this week because she once soiled her school uniform during lessons in class because she used a rag. Her male colleagues mocked her, and since then, she's been staying at home until her monthly flow is over. She does this every month. Menstruation is a monthly natural process for a girl child, but for Benedicta, it is a source of pain and shame.
Dealing with menstruation is often a thorn in the side to most girls from disadvantaged communities. This natural process comes as a problem to women and girls, especially those in Techiman and Kokroko. The exposure to health risks cannot be underestimated, and in some cases, schoolgirls drop out of school. Now, in order to curtail the flow of a monthly period, some of the girls here use anything from rags, old clothes, toilet papers, even baby diapers, or literally anything that can absorb the flow. 16-year-old Benedicta Boatima, for instance, is at home today instead of being in the classroom. She's at the moment experiencing her monthly flow and also wearing a rag to absorb the flow because she cannot afford a pad. She says this happens every month and she stays at home in a week. This means she misses the syllables, she misses classroom activities, which is a big worry.
How are you?
We are fine, thank you.
I visited Benedicta's school the next morning. It was a Wednesday and classes were already in session, but she's absent today too. Surprisingly, Benedicta is not the only girl in the Kokroko DA Basic School who faces challenges during her monthly menstrual periods. Her friend, Badombie Elsie, also shares that she had to stay out of school for a week when her first period came. She neither had sanitary pads nor tampons. She uses napkins or rags.
My mother don't have such money for me every month to always be giving me to go and buy pad. Sometimes when I buy 1 month, I'll use it. Maybe it will leave me with only 2. So I have to buy the next month, but there is no less money for me to buy. So I have to use rag to protect myself for the following month. I've never used rag to come to class because I always feel sure that maybe you can disgrace yourself in public. And our classmates too, when they see something like that, they always be telling each other, then laughing at you. So I always feel sure to always use that one. When I'm in my period without pad, I always stay at home for 1 week.
The girls here do not have hygiene facilities in school, so they cannot change their clothes easily. As a result, they wear over-soaked wet clothes all day, unable to concentrate. Sometimes it's so bad they just leave and go home missing school activities. Some force themselves to wait until the end of the school day to change their rags at home. Prospera, 15 years, is one of them. But she does that to also escape derision from her male classmates. She adds that other girls in her village are not any better. When their periods appear, they go through the same trepidations.
Young for baby, so I am Moyesa. Go on, you see to make a say. A blue time seven by who are none of my mini scout the man until so you soon to my and I be also into my gonna be you soon. Or Felice be of a bus kuma my yen hunting on farmer. Also the Tinefi. And I be so of the Drew Skuma, not say yen one. Who you soon to my goose or be or sign through. So, Baba. Yes, I saw a dinner teacher nature or a banner. I trimmed in 1 tiasi.
She could not complete her 7-day cycle without getting stained, as the rags always shift from where she stuffed them.
Number C, made so she 3 times. First one, made so she any send my room mojam. Second one, I'm a celesi. Nam do omo afra. Third one, nam the seminar I can number C. Nam de hata you, Sinebeya, a moo Nina Beko.
Something new. You are a assistant.
A teacher at the Kokoko DA Basic School, Nanakosa Akore, is fully aware of their struggles. He sometimes gives them clothes to cover up their soiled uniforms, or he sends them home.
When they get their menses and they get up, mostly we saw blood on their uniform. At times I call one madam to bring the cloth to cover her before she get home. It's hard because we don't have any supermarket here, so it's difficult. It is difficult for them to buy when they have their menses because they don't have pad and they use the rag, so they stop schooling till the blood stop. It is worrying. I want government or any NGO who will come to our aid to supply us sanitary pad.
Benedicta, Prospera, and Elsie are not the only ones who suffer from period poverty. There are a lot of girls and women in their shoes who also cannot afford and therefore do not have access to hygienic sanitary products.
Dealing with menstruation in disadvantaged communities like Kokroko is often a headache for most of the girls here.
This is unacceptable.
Period.
The situation here has dragged many girls into transactional sex in order to get access to sanitary pads.
The rate is very alarming, and the condition that comes with it, beyond the issue of they even have to beg for or have to have a sexual relationship with people to be able to afford it. Their right to education is also at stake because of some kind of stigma that they have to go through in school, and then also the discomfort that they go through, and some of them also go through pain and all that. So if you look at all these and you don't even provide the basic need for them to be able to go through that period, then it's time to reason that it's a serious issue that we should not take for granted, because the consequences would have a greater effect on them. If it is also having effect on children, we are not doing anything about it. We can also look at it that no, the policy environment of this country is silent on what we need to do to address those issues. Therefore, their right to education or their right to health is affected by it. Then, of course, why not? We can look at it. Once the policy environment is silent, we can by extension say that it's abuse of right. So what we need to do is to have a comprehensive policy to address that in our school system, so that their health will be catered for, and then their right to education would also be pursued. So we need to make a deliberate policy to see how best we can make some of these facilities free and available to our children.
I meet young girls who have to sleep around for these parts, and some of them have to do abortions or have to keep their pregnancy because they had to sleep for some of these things, and it means that their future would not go as planned. They have another child to feed and all of that. It's sad to be able to see some of these things. We've been to places where when we give them the pass, they say things like, I need to keep this for a special day, and that I'll still use my rags and the toilet rolls and the other things, for the meantime. And some of them can't come to school, they can't go to church, they can't go to special events, and they just have to keep on waiting till there's a solution. I think that we can do better than that. And so we do advocate that the taxes on pads should be taken off, import duty and all of that. But beyond that, we need to have a discussion on how we are going to make pads more affordable, so that the average person can get it at a fraction of their income.
Lack of access to basic menstrual products and the public shaming of menstruating girls deprives many female students of access to educational opportunities. This also puts them at risk of child marriage, a major problem in rural Ghana. It's common here in Kokroko. Jennifer Asamoah is a school dropout and a mother of two. She is a victim of period poverty. The 19-year-old described life as tough for her. She's been using this white cloth as a remedy to sanitary pad. Period pain is a tough one for women who experience it. Having to experience the pain and unable to access menstrual hygiene products makes life unbearable for her. Shockingly, she tells me when she uses all her white clothes, she resorts to using her baby's diaper.
Say wanya pad and say ntuma na bi onkura pampers no otimi use bi bia miniska o ha me be 20 years say me use nsago no me use wi a Messi misia na me de ago.
Asante Comfort is also used to the white cloth and does not really bother on getting a sanitary pad.
I used to my go 7 years. Me mom dem used to and sagumaham. Me my used to no.
Like a majority of the young girls in Kokroko, using clothes and rags for feminine hygiene, washing them with soap and drying them in sunlight can be dangerous. According to health experts, poor menstrual health is the reason why reproductive tract infections are 60% more common among women who use unhygienic materials. It's common among girls and women in Kokroko, a hard-to-reach area, yet with no health center. The only clinic here is yet to be operationalized.
This is actually a facility that could have sustained patients who come in here, but this entire space has been abandoned and residents here do not have access to quality health care.
Most of the girls and women who suffer from poor menstrual hygiene infections will have to think of a 45 minutes journey to a neighboring town called Arowa through bad roads to see a doctor. Commercial vehicles hardly come here. I have come to Arowa to see how dire the situation on menstrual hygiene can be. A physician assistant at the Arowa Health Center, Atta Mustafa, in a month takes care of not less than 300 women and girls from Kokroko with vaginal candidiasis, pelvic inflammatory diseases, bacterial vaginosis, among others.
Other things that we've seen are rashes, like some rashes at their perineums. They've been using rags, but the challenge is whether the rags are clean. So it's just the hygiene implications that we are worried. So using something that is unhygienic down there can predispose them to a lot of sicknesses like white, vaginosis, and a whole lot of things. For the OPD, we record a lot of cases over here from Kokroko.
He said poor menstrual hygiene can also cause fungal infections, urinary tract infections, and also leave women vulnerable to infertility. Awareness on clean and safe absorbance and frequently changing of pads is a must to ensure good hygiene. In fact, according to studies, if feminine hygiene products are not changed every 4 hours, it can cause toxic shock syndrome and severe allergies. Ghana largely imports disposable sanitary pads with a 20% import tax, with the cost of the product seeing recent increases from about 5 Ghana cedis to 17 Ghana cedis between January 2022 and July 2023 due to inflation.
They complain that it's expensive. You can't do anything about it. You need it, so definitely you have to buy it. When the price increases, you have no option. You definitely have to buy it. So some complain, but you have no option. If the taxes can be cleared off, fine.
There have been several calls by various stakeholders demanding the government removal of taxes on sanitary pads. According to advocacy groups, the 12.5% value-added tax and the 20% import tax on sanitary pads have caused a significant increase in prices, making them unaffordable for many women who make up 51% of Ghana's population.
Something had to be done, and so we decided, as a collective of organizations that have women at the center of what we do, decided to literally march out onto the streets, take the taxes off, because it's the introduction of the taxes that has moved the pricing from 5 cedis to as much as 25 cedis. Okay. So let's take the taxes off. How do we have luxury taxes on something as basic as a sanitary pad? Every woman, once you hit puberty, you are going to menstruate. You force women to get creative and have creative ways of managing menstruation that definitely are unhygienic, definitely do not augur well for us. Basically, you want to menstruate with dignity.
We are presenting to you this petition as a father, as a leader, and we know that you are going to act on it swiftly for us, and women in Ghana will forever be grateful. Thank you.
On the back of this, The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Babin, on June 5, 2023, demanded the immediate removal of the taxes on sanitary pads. He strongly criticized the imposition of taxes on sanitary pads, describing it as a cardinal sin.
Why should we pass a law imposing tax on sanitary pads? This is unconscionable. It's a cardinal sin. This house shouldn't have allowed it. You know the impact of that law on the human resource development and on the development of this country. It's immeasurable. That is why I suspended sitting and had to attend to them. I have a copy of the petition, and we have to take immediate action to prevent whoever is the minister proposing that thing to take it off. The next budget, it must not appear, it cannot be a tax.
On July 31, 2023, when the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, delivered the much-anticipated budget review statement, there was an eerie silence on sanitary pads. Relatedly, the Association of the Ghana Industries, AGI, has said that calls on the removal of taxes on sanitary pads is illogical. They caution government not to attempt to remove taxes on imported sanitary pads. According to the group, any measure by the government to remove taxes on imported sanitary pads at the expense of local manufacturers will be detrimental to the economy.
The agitation is strong for the removal of taxes, and we are not against it. What we are against is removing all taxes, including taxes on imported finished products. So if tomorrow, as you are saying, there is a policy that the taxes on locally produced items, taxes on raw materials that are being brought into the country to further process to get the sanitary parts are removed, we'll say hallelujah to it. VAT on locally produced items, we are exempting them, we'll say hallelujah to it. But when you say a new policy has come and the policy says duties on imported finished sanitary parts is removed, I don't think it will help anybody. It will not serve our cause, it will not help the country, it will not help industry, it will not help jobs in the country. We agree that the prices should come down as much as possible. Even if it's for free, we have no objection to it. If you are in a high-cost production country and you are doing import substitution, then your solution to the problems of this nature is not to remove import duties, but rather have an arrangement that makes the local production cheaper.
It can be recalled that in August 22, 2020, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, during the launch of the party's 2020 manifesto at the University of Cape Coast, promised that the new Patriotic Party, NPP, on winning the election, will remove the import duties on sanitary pads and distribute free pads to students and low-income women.
We will eliminate import duties on sanitary pads to improve health conditions, particularly for girls. It's very important, but what we want to really do is to make sure we produce the sanitary pads in Ghana. Until that happens in their numbers, we are going to eliminate the import duties to bring down the cost.
3 years on, the purchase of these menstrual products is still high in terms of prices, making it hard for some Ghanaians to afford them, especially girls in Kokroko. The Member of Parliament for Techima North, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, blames the period poverty challenge on the government as they seem not to care about these girls who continue to use rags in the 21st century.
The reduction of taxes on sanitary pads is a must, but it shouldn't end there. The provision of free sanitary pads for girls in deprived areas of the country is a must because they need it for their academic health and for their hygiene.
Some of the women cookers in Parliament, including the Member of Parliament for Ketu North, Jifa Gomashi, has bemoaned the increase in prices of sanitary pads.
How about lobbying government to remove taxes of the imported parts that the local companies use? How about that? How about saying that in that case, we are not going to do cathedral, we are going to use the money to build a pad making factory?
Thank you. We love that.
Saying that in the absence of that, remove the obnoxious taxes.
What could be the immediate solution to save these vulnerable girls as the fight seems to be lost? Can encouraging the local production of sanitary pads be a solution? I will find out soon. Seamstresses busy at work in Senya Breku in the central region of Ghana. They are not sewing clothes here. They are into making of sanitary pads. Isabella Akwabwa is a teacher and the founder of Amazing Girls Foundation. She began sewing reusable sanitary pads from fabrics in 2017. They are washable and reusable.
This is 100% cotton. You cannot just pick any pieces from anybody. No, you just put it here, then you close your snap button. So simple, like this. Here, you close the snap button. Then you good to go. That's all. The work is good. No hassle, nothing. So this one is 15 soles for one, like this. But in a pack, you can get it like 50 soles. That is two of these wings and 8 of this, which is more considerable because you can change and change and change.
Her foundation has produced pads for a number of girls and women in rural areas through stakeholders' requests.
It's a donor founding. If you're lucky and a donor wants to support girls in his or her community or in their community, then they will employ you to produce the reusable sanitary pad for the girls. But for government, no, and sometimes quite challenging because the import duties and the cost involved in getting the frana, that is the cotton we use to sew the sanitary pad, is way expensive.
The reusable sanitary pads can be used up to a year.
After 4 years, you see that the sewn aspect is being torn, and if you don't want to use this again, then you can buy a new one. But if you want to still use it, why not? I've been using mine for 5 years and I'm still using, I'm counting. And I've saved a lot of money on sanitary pad because I don't buy it. It goes with any soap, but what it doesn't want to be touched with is Parazone.
She's working with 6 employers and her business is expanding. She hopes to be supported by government to help produce more reusable sanitary pads for girls and women in need of it. Schoolgirls staying at home while menstruating is a serious problem. Isabella aims to bring it to an end and also stop men from taking advantage of young girls who desperately need sanitary pads. Reusable pads could be a solution since it's cheaper and lasts longer. Isabella hopes to supply it to 1 million girls by end of 2023.
I'm about to make a reusable sanitary pad. I have my Macintosh here and also my cloth, and sewing begins now. I'm done with the sewing. I now have to cut the excess material that is on the side so that it gives a comfortable feel when the lady wears it. So you just have to carefully cut through the edges like I'm doing. This is what I was able to make. Not all that perfect.
Back to Kokoko. Not only are these girls dealing with a lack of materials, they're also stigmatized by cultural attitudes that regard menstruating women and girls as dirty. Girls here are not allowed to visit River Subin, a source of drinking water to some of the community members when they are in their period. Most of the married women are also not allowed to cook for their husbands. Many communities in Ghana has a variety of such misconceptions and stigmas about menstruation. The high price of sanitary products and the impact on girls' education is not just a problem in Ghana. Girls are also missing school in countries like Kinshasa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Uganda, among others, for the same reason. But in Kenya, the government is pushing to provide free sanitary pads in schools. Many Kenyan women will also benefit from low-cost menstrual products, as government is set to remove all taxes on menstrual products. On February 14, 2023, a Kenyan senator, Gloria Owoba, was asked to leave parliament when she wore a white suit stained with blood to parliament to fight the stigma surrounding menstruation affecting Kenyan women and girls.
Is it because senators are not women who have periods? I want to know, because then maybe I shouldn't be in this house because I have periods, Mr. Speaker. And on my way here, I actually stained my dress. This is a very natural thing, and I'm very embarrassed and I'm very, very upset, Mr. Speaker. Protect me.
Gloria Owoba said her experience made her understand the discrimination faced by some girls in Kenya when they are on their period.
You have stained your wonderful suit. I'm not asking you to leave because you're out of order, but I'm asking you to leave so that you go change and come back.
Immediately after the incident, she visited a school in Nairobi distributing period products. The senator is behind a motion pushing for an increase in government funding for free sanitary pads and provision of female hygiene products in all public schools. She believes quick funding would address period poverty. Scotland, a United Kingdom nation, in August 15, 2022, made history in the global efforts to end period poverty by offering tampons and other period products free to anyone in need of them.
There were no votes against, there were no abstentions. The motion is agreed and the Period Products Free Provision Scotland Bill is passed.
Ghana is, however, far lagging behind. There should be an increase in government funding for free sanitary pads and provision of female hygiene products for girls and women, a situation which needs to be looked into urgently. Godwin Asidiba, TV3.